everyone, and welcome to DIY Crafts. Today we are in the great outdoors once again. Mother Nature has graced us with this gorgeous day. Fall is here. Now it feels like summer again. Hopefully it lasts a little bit longer before it gets really cold. In any case, we are breaking out our inner fall crafts, and we are ready to revert to our younger years and do some kindergarten crafts, but with an adult flair. So we are going to be doing papier-mâché, and we're doing a papier-mâché twist here because not only are we doing papier-mâché, but we're also going to be using papier-mâché clay. So I have recipes for both the papier-mâché and the papier-mâché clay, so you guys can make your very own creepy pumpkin or your very own witch's hat house, or just a plain Jane, no clay added, just a papier-mâché pumpkin. So I'm going to show you how to make these things. Unfortunately, I have a very short amount of time to show you guys how to do this, so I've kind of done a couple of things ahead of time. Sorry. I've already gone ahead and whipped up a batch of papier-mâché, the paste. So if you are interested to learn more about papier-mâché, there is an absolutely awesome website. It is called The Ultimate Papier-mâché. I believe the lady's name is Johnny, and she does all things papier-mâché, from the easiest versions to the toughest, intricate, crazy and wild, time-consuming papier-mâché things that you can create. So visit her website. I got the paste recipe from her website. It's super easy. You need 2 tablespoons of flour to 1 cup of water. You're going to put it in a saucepan and stir it constantly until it bubbles. As soon as it bubbles, turn the heat off and put it in a container so it can cool. And once that paste is cool, it's super thick, as you can see. And that's what you're going to be using for your papier-mâché paste. So today I'm going to show you guys how to make some really cool creepy pumpkins, or at least the stages in which you would make this really cool creepy pumpkin that I have yet to paint, but it actually looks really cool all by itself, if I do say so myself. So the things that you are going to need, you're going to need a bag. So plastic bag, trash bag. This is technically called trash bag pumpkins. So I've taken a plain Jane grocery bag and I've stuffed it with a bunch of newspaper. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to wrap it with masking tape. You can wrap it with masking tape or twine or both. If you do the twine, you kind of want to cover it with the masking tape. So for me, I'm just going to go with the masking tape. And all you're going to do after you stuff your bag full of newspaper, you're going to squish it. You're going to squish it so it creates like a nice round pumpkin-esque shape. And then you're going to go ahead and tape where you think or where you would like those pumpkin lines to go. So for me, I'm just going to tape as I go here. Go all the way around and make it nice and tight so it kind of makes bag angle here. And then I'm going to continue where I left off on the bottom here. And just keep pulling the tape around until I get back to my starting point. Alright, so now I'm at the beginning here. I'm going to go ahead and rip that off. And I'm going to start again, go around on a slight angle. So not like a perfect X, but on a slight diagonal. And I'm going to go ahead and go around. You do want to try and keep the tape as flat as possible, because that's going to help. And make sure you're crossing in like the same area. And go ahead back to your starting point. I mean, you got the start of our pumpkin here, alright? So we're already starting to get areas. So I'm going to do one more right here. And there we go. Sweet! So I have a pumpkin type shape going on here. Looks pretty awesome. Now you might be wondering, well, what are you going to do with the stem? I'll show you. So you're going to take a toilet paper roll And you can cut it, or you can roll it, or you can bunch it, or you can unravel it. In my case, that's what I'm gonna do. And I'm just gonna roll this up, kind of like something like that. And then I'm just gonna tape this to here. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna tape this together here. And then you're gonna just tape it down onto this bag you have going on here. Tape it to the best of your ability. You might want it straight up, you might want it a little crooked, that's totally up to you. I'm gonna keep mine a little off to an angle. And then I might actually just twist this top a little bit. So I feel like the stems tend to get a little bit smaller. And then I'm just gonna wrap it in tape, or at least the bottom, so I make sure it doesn't go anywhere. Alrighty. Doesn't have to be perfect because you're gonna wrap it in newspaper anyway. So that's pretty much the start of your pumpkin. From here, you're gonna break out your inner kindergartner. You're gonna take some newspaper. Newspaper is the best thing to do paper mache with. My crafters will tell you we tried it with book pages that were falling out of books though, and it was not as sturdy as newspaper is. Newspaper is super thin, so it soaks up a lot of that paste. And all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna rip it. I'm not gonna cut it, I'm just gonna rip it into pieces. I find that this works really well because then you can rip it to the size that you need it to be as you go. So once you have the shape of your pumpkin, you're gonna go ahead and rip a bunch of pieces of newspaper, and this is where you're gonna get really dirty. So I'm gonna take this out. It's over here. You guys can see my bowl. All I'm gonna do is dip this in here and then wring out the newspaper. Make sure it's saturated all the way through. You don't need it to be soaked, you just need it to be wet. And then you're just gonna lay your strips down. So starting at the top, and there we go. And you're just gonna absolutely have a blast with this. Get dirty. You're just gonna soak each individual strip, and you're just gonna keep layering them on top of each other and smoothing them out. Alright. If they start to get wrinkled, the best part about newspaper is it's so thin that you can just rip it where it needs to go. So for instance, if I want to do my stem here, or I want to do this little crease, I can just rip the newspaper right here so that it gets that crinkle out and makes a nice smooth transition here. You do want to keep it kind of as smooth as you possibly can because pumpkins are fairly smooth. So, and then I can just rip it here, right up where my stem is, and then I can go ahead and do a piece around my stem. And so you're just going to keep going until you have completely coated the whole pumpkin, which I'm not going to torture you guys with, but I am going to do a couple more pieces just to show you. So you just want them again to be as smooth as possible. Keep to that round shape of a pumpkin. Might do a couple of small pieces up where the stem is. Lay them nice and flat. Smooth them out to the best of your ability. This is a great craft to do with your kids, especially if they're stuck at home doing distance learning. This is super fun, and believe it or not, it will help them practice patience because it's not something that's going to get done very fast, but it is super fun because it's really messy. So I'm just going to rip it here so I can go around the stem. I might keep a little groove right here. This is where my pumpkin's going to groove down. That's okay. Be creative. You know that you have grooves for your pumpkin, so you might make it a little lumpy right there. And there we go. Goes down. Nice and smooth. Smooth that out a little. And so you're going to keep doing this. You want like 2 to 3 layers. So you'll keep going and going and going until your layers are done. So there we go. We're getting there. We're getting there. Alright. So again, just keep it nice and smooth. Keep layering this all the way around. There we go. Cool thing about paper mache is if you mess up while it's still wet, you can lift it up and put it back down, which is awesome. Just gonna keep going around here. Do another piece right there. Smooth it out, and you're just gonna keep on going. So do a couple more pieces, and then I'll show you guys how to do the next step. I think you got the idea of paper mache. Again, to make the paste super easy, there's several recipes, but I find that the greatest recipe that I've used so far is to just take 2 tablespoons of flour, add it to 1 cup of water, and heat it up on your stove top. As soon as you start to see bubbles in your mixture, as you're stirring it constantly, you want to turn it off of the heat or remove it from the heat, and then just put it in a bowl so it'll dry fast up, so it'll cool it down faster. Alrighty. And once it's cool, you can start working with the paper mache paste, and then just start layering it as I am doing right here. So the more layers you add, the sturdier this is gonna be. You're gonna want to add, again, at least 2 to 3 layers to make sure it's as sturdy as you can, especially if you're not doing the paper mache clay. If you're just doing the paste in the newspaper, then all you need is 2 to 3 layers. The more layers, the sturdier it's going to be. And then once you have your pumpkin shape, so I'm starting to get it right here already. Super easy, super fast. You don't have to wait for the layers to dry before you add another layer. So you're just going to keep going around and around and around until you make all the layers that you possibly can have. You don't need an abundance of layers. 2 to 3 is probably pretty good, but again, the more layers you have, the sturdier it's going to be. Eventually you are going to be taking the bag and the newspaper out of the pumpkin. I do suggest that you do this at the very end, even after you're done painting the outside, just so that it doesn't collapse on you. I learned my lesson with that one doing this guy, but beneficially it looks kind of cool in my opinion, because it looks like he's even scarier and creepier than he was meant to look like. Alright, so do this couple more layers just to show you guys what that one layer looks like, and then I'll show you guys paper mache clay part. Sorry. Alrighty, last piece. Alrighty, so this is the top. You can see it's already starting to look very much like a pumpkin. The shape is already there. So the next step that you guys are going to want to do is you're going to want to If you want to just keep it just the way it is, you're welcome to keep it just the way it is, but just keep constantly adding more and more paper and more of the paste. If you want more of a detailed oriented pumpkin where you can carve it and make more of a jack-o'-lantern theme, then I highly recommend using the papier-mâché clay. So this pumpkin is just several layers of the papier-mâché paste, but it needs several layers of paint for you not to be able to see the newspaper. And I really can't do much with this. I mean, it's just decoration. It looks super cool. But if you want to add more details and you want it to look more haunted, you're going to want to take papier-mâché clay and put it on top of your pumpkin that you're creating. So this guy right here is done with papier-mâché clay in addition to just the plain Jane papier-mâché. So I'll show you this guy. So all the details here, including the lines that you get for your pumpkin grooves, the raised eyes, the raised nose, the little cheekbones you got going on over here, and then this super crooked mouth you have, it's all done with the papier-mâché clay. So the recipe for papier-mâché clay is actually super simple as well. There's no cooking involved. All you're doing is mixing stuff. So there are several recipes for papier-mâché clay on Instructables.com, including gluten-free recipes if you have a gluten allergy, so that's really cool. Basically what you want to do with papier-mâché clay, you want to take a roll of toilet paper, saturate it, remove the center of the toilet paper, and then tear it apart. And as you're tearing it apart, you want to pull it into pieces. Once you put it into pieces, you'll have a bunch of toilet paper pieces. You're going to wring out as much water as you possibly can. And then you're going to add 3/4 cups of joint compound, which you can find at your local hardware store or Walmart. Joint compound is what you use for drywall. I just did a renovation project. Drywall is definitely not my friend, but I do have extra joint compound. So a roll of toilet paper, 3/4 cups of joint compound, 3/4 cups of plain Jane white glue, a 1/2 cup of flour, and then 1 tablespoon of glycerin. So I didn't have glycerin at home. It is optional, but what I did use is I just used olive oil, and the only thing that the olive oil or glycerin helps you do is it just helps it so it smooths out the papier-mâché better. So papier-mâché is rather clumpy, and it's full of paper fibers because you're making it with toilet paper. But once it dries like plaster of Paris because you're using joint compound. So basically all you're doing with the papier-mâché is you are adding details to your pumpkin. So for this guy, if I wanted to add my eyes, my nose, my mouth, maybe a snake coming out or some cool vines, what I can do is cut out eyes, a nose, and a mouth, and then use cardboard and our masking tape and tape on some additional details. So I can tape on some eyebrows here, I can tape on some cheeks here, or I can just take the papier-mâché clay and go ahead and just start sticking it wherever I want it to go. So in this case, there's a couple of pieces that I want, like I want more vines here. So I might take this and smooth this out here just a little bit more. And all I'm doing is I'm just adding details to the pumpkin. And you're doing it with clay, but it's papier-mâché clay, which is super awesome. Another thing that you can do if you're not interested in the papier-mâché part, the paste part, you can eliminate this altogether, and you can take, sorry guy, we're gonna move you so I can demonstrate here. You can take a plastic bottle, so this is the bottom of a plastic bottle, this is the top of a plastic bottle, and this is a tin foil hat. So I've taken tin foil and tape and made a tin foil hat here and used the bottom of the bottle and another piece of tin foil to make a little bit more decoration. And all I did is I glued them together with a hot glue gun and took the papier-mâché clay and basically just covered this whole thing in papier-mâché clay. And when you're done, it dries hard as a rock, and you can put a light in the bottom here. So tin foil, plastic bottle. Again, the top of this hat is tin foil. The top of this is tin foil and wire, tin foil and wire. And it's just glued together and then covered in papier-mâché clay. So once you have a really good recipe for papier-mâché clay, you can store it in the refrigerator for at least a week if you're not going to use it right away, or if you want to do multiple layers. And then once papier-mâché clay dries, go ahead and paint it and roll with it. So we did this when the library was open and we actually had in-session classes, and we had some amazing artwork, So if you did do this in my class, feel free to post up your pictures, show and tell, go for it. If you do this at home, go ahead and show us in the comments what you did and let us know how you did and what tips you have. If you do decide to do either one of these, just make sure that you leave your stuffing inside the pumpkin until you're ready to paint it. So one, you want to make sure that this is completely dry before you take the stuffing out, or before you add the papier-mâché clay, because otherwise it'll deflate and it won't look as cool. So my recommendation to you is just to wait until you are ready to paint it, or even paint it and then take the stuffing out. Alright? Until next week, guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode of DIY Crafts with a little fall Halloween flair, 'cause we're all trying to break out our fall decorations. I hope you guys do this with your kids if you have them, because it's super fun and super messy. Until next week, I'll see you guys all then.